A former Congresswoman, Marilyn Musgrave, on the line. She used to represent the 4th Congressional District of the state of Colorado. Congresswoman, are you on the line?
I'm with you and happy to be so.
Well, I'm glad you could call in, and I'm glad that you're back on the show. We've talked about this. I think you were on the show about a year ago talking about your organization. You work for Susan B. Anthony List. Given what's going on, and I was at a pro-life rally this weekend. I know there were some all over the state of Arkansas and all over the country. The anniversary of the Roe versus Wade decision. Talk a little bit about what your organization does and what are some of your goals in the future.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. First of all, on this anniversary, I'm always reminded of the fact that the pundits said way back when, all those years ago, that in just a short period of time, no one would be talking about this issue. Abortion would be off the table. Well, here we are, talking about it today, remembering that dark day in our history. And it's amazing, though, because I'm encouraged, even though it's a very somber day, because more and more people are becoming pro-life. More and more women are becoming pro-life. And at these marches, you're seeing a lot of young people. There is a very bright future in this country when we look at committed pro-life young people. Mm-hmm. So our organization is the political arm of the pro-life movement, because while the nation is becoming more and more pro-life, wow, the policies we see coming out of Washington, D.C., under this most pro-abortion president ever is breathtaking. Obamacare, the largest expansion of abortion since Roe v. Wade. An abortion at any time for any reason during the pregnancy. And by the way, taxpayer, pick out your wallet. You're going to pay for it. I mean, that's what we're facing right now. But I am encouraged again by thinking of the elections that are coming up in 2014. Because I think there's some real opportunity to take some people out of office that are not pro-life, that are representing states that are very pro-life.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, and I think one of those politicians who's going to have to answer, I think, for some of his beliefs is Senator Mark Pryor. Obviously, I went over this. We're talking with former Congresswoman Marilyn Musgrave from Susan B. Anthony List. There was an article published on Friday from the National Review's Betsy Woodruff, where the headline was Pryor's Secret. And basically the start of the article, Congresswoman, goes like this: good luck getting Mark Pryor to talk about abortion. And she goes on to describe a very lengthy several attempts of trying to get Senator Pryor to comment on this pain-capable 20-week abortion ban that I know Susan B. Anthony List must want passed. I know pro-life people want it passed, but Senator Pryor really isn't taking a position on it. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, it's our top legislative priority. And if Senator Pryor is really in touch with his state that he's representing, he will see that the Arkansas State Legislature passed something very similar to this already. They passed the 12-week ban, the heartbeat bill.
Yeah.
So, I don't know why he's dodging the reporter, because I don't think he's going to make either side happy with that move, the pro-abortion crowd or us pro-lifers. And, aren't we looking for people in office who will be authentic and give you a straight answer? Is that too much to ask? And, Senator Mark Pryor had a pretty easy election 4 years ago, really didn't have serious opposition. But this time, he's got a pro-life hero running against him. So I think it behooves him to answer the question in a very forthright manner, whether or not he thinks it's appropriate to ban abortion after 20 weeks. It's also called the Unborn Child Pain Capable Act. Thinking about the time in the pregnancy at which that little child can feel pain.
Yeah.
And if Mark Pryor needs some cover, you know what? 60% of the people in his state agree with this. 58% of women agree with this. And some people aren't even they needed a straight answer from this senator as to where he stands.
Did you, I think I remember this correctly, were you serving in Congress around the same time as Senator Mark Pryor? I mean, you guys were in there together, is that correct?
We had some overlap, we did.
Okay.
And one of the things that I remember is that the partial birth abortion ban was signed into law when I first came to Congress. And you know what happened at that time is the American public got to look at that gruesome procedure in diagrams. They got to get images in their mind of what was really going on. And the American people would not tolerate it, and Congress responded. I think that Senator Mark Pryor and others need to realize when American people know what's going on, they're not going to stand for this either. They believe banning late-term abortion is the thing we need to do.
I completely agree, and I absolutely applaud what our state has done. And it took conservatives and Republicans taking over the state legislature for the first time in 138 years to get this pro-life legislation that you talked about, the 20-week and the 12-week, and we just got through running a special election where the Republican ended up winning, and the Democrat criticized some of that legislation, saying that he doesn't support unconstitutional legislation that's going to cost millions of dollars for the taxpayers to defend. And I think the people of Arkansas spoke, and my reaction to that is, well, I would much rather defend with taxpayer dollars the life of unborn children than have our taxpayer dollars go to end the lives of unborn children, which happens all the time now, doesn't it, Congresswoman?
Yes, it does, and you couldn't have said it better. What do we want done with our tax dollars? I'm going to stand for life no matter what. And, Arkansas is the third most pro-life state in the nation. That speaks volumes. The tide has turned, and it appears that Mark Pryor just hasn't caught on yet. And I believe it's going to have significance as he tries to be reelected in this pro-life state. And, the thing of it is, you talked about Betsy Woodruff. John McCormick tried to ask him, where he was on this legislation. He wouldn't answer that question. And I just think that he may think that he's going to get by with a non-answer. But no, we're going to have his position clearly laid out. And when you think of the legislation being carried by Lindsey Graham, I think it's most appropriate for folks in Arkansas to ask the senator to co-sponsor this legislation,
wow,
to get on the bill, to ask for Harry Reid to give it a vote. Let's see what he will do when it really comes down to it. I've seen some of his new commercials, the one where he's holding the Bible. I would just really encourage the people of Arkansas to dig a little deeper and see how serious he really is. When he's holding up the Bible, is he going to be willing to stand for the most vulnerable among us? That's the question.
Yeah, you're right. That is the question, and you got to wonder. I agree with you. I mean, he absolutely should co-sponsor it, and if you read this National Review piece, it really is frustrating to think of the majority of the sentiment of Arkansans is that we want to protect the unborn. We don't think abortion is the right thing, and yet our representative isn't pursuing that in our name. It's very, very frustrating. I do want to talk about something else kind of related to this, because Obamacare is a big issue as well, and Senator Pryor is responsible for inflicting that on Arkansans. And this kind of comes back to a pro-life concept in terms of abortifacients and really in general just conscience protection. And I know that you guys are passionate about that as well. Talk a little bit about the government forcing private companies and individuals to do things that their religious convictions won't allow them to do. Talk about that.
Well, the religious liberty issue, as you so aptly stated, is at the core of this issue. And in my home state of Colorado, you have the Little Sisters of the Poor. Now you have to just picture what goes along with that beautiful name. These women that are serving the Lord, should they be forced to have coverage for their employees, health care coverage that includes abortion-inducing drugs? I call that a chemical abortion. I mean, I can hardly talk about it without just getting so emotional. Can you imagine the government forcing that on the Little Sisters of the Poor and those of us around the country that cannot abide taking the life of an unborn child? I mean, this Health and Human Services mandate under this administration is the worst attack on our religious liberties that I have seen in my lifetime. So all that's involved with Obamacare, taxpayer funding of abortion, the ruse that they tried that persuaded Bart Stupak and a few other Democrats to vote for the legislation, all of the statements that were made that have been proven to be untrue. You had Senator Mark Pryor and others voting for this, and now look what we have. Look at the debacle as it's rolled out. I mean, people of Arkansas and people around this country, I hope, have seen the light on what this really means for our country and how much is involved in this. And, our organization is all about life. And the two things that we find absolutely unacceptable are the taxpayer funding of abortion. I mean, you go on the website and try to determine if these various choices include abortion. You can't even find out. I mean, it's ridiculous. So we are subsidizing abortion, and this mandate is affecting people all over this country who have morals that will not allow them to contribute to the taking of the life of an innocent child. So we've got much to think about in this country, much to think about in these elections in 2014.
I agree. And, maybe, you want Senator Pryor to come out and give us a position. The Politico, and I'll refresh the audience's memory, the Politico came out with a report back when the Obamacare website was such a debacle about a meeting between Pryor and a few other vulnerable Democrats this year, and they were essentially getting permission to criticize it. And so, he may give us a position on this pain-capable bill when he gets permission from the White House. And it really, on both of these issues, we're talking with Congresswoman, or former Congresswoman Marilyn Musgrave, on both of these issues. You have the pain-capable, you have abortion, which I think he's on the wrong side of, and I think his voting record bears that out. And then you have this conscience protection. I mean, you think about the average Arkansan, and I'm sure even the average resident of Colorado as well. I mean, the concept that our government is now arguing in court that if you are a business and you are enjoying the protections of being incorporated, that somehow you forfeit your moral compass. Somehow now all of a sudden you are at you're the subject of the federal government's will. It just is the complete opposite of how we were founded. Don't you agree, Congresswoman?
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And I mean, they say, well, we've exempted churches. Well, don't individuals have religious liberties? If my husband and I owned a business for years, do we no longer have religious liberties when it comes to our, how we treat our employees? I mean, it is beyond the pale, and it just keeps getting more and more. It's like, what country are we in? Mm-hmm. And when you think of Pryor and other Democrats seeking permission, basically looking for an okay to criticize these policies in order to improve their chances of getting reelected, is that not, I mean, I hate that kind of stuff. I mean, no, let's see your real character. And I mean, we're looking for people of courage to serve in this country. And if you don't agree with the policies of the individual who's in the highest office of the land, even though you're in the same party, can't you say so? So none of this seems very genuine, when it's coming from these people who are looking out for their political highs.
Nice.
So Arkansans should demand to know where he stands on the 20-week bill. They should get clarification on the attack on the religious liberties and just see where he's going to stand. He has a pro-life hero running against him, and I think his answers are going to be very forthright, and I find that refreshing.
Yeah, Congressman Tom Cotton is certainly a pro-life candidate, and you'd like to think does Senator Mark Pryor realize that we're in a representative republic? It appears he's got the It appears he's got the representative part right. He's just representing the interests of the Democrat Party, not the people of the state of Arkansas. Congresswoman, go ahead.
Maybe he needs a little history lesson.
Yeah, exactly. I'll give you the last word, Congresswoman, because I want people to know about the Susan B. Anthony list and maybe the website where they can go if they want to try to help out or get more information.
Well, we at Susan B. Anthony list want the policies coming out of Washington to reflect the growing number of pro-life Americans, especially in great states like Arkansas. We're going to do everything we can in this election cycle to stand up for that precious unborn child. We're at sba-list.org, working in the public policy arena to protect life. We'd love to hear from you, and you can find out the latest. And again, keep the pressure up on Mark Pryor, asking him if he approves of late-term abortion. Thank you.
All right, Congresswoman Marilyn Musgrave, thank you so much for being on the program. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, I look forward to it.
All right. Folks, we got to go to break. Back in a minute.